comparing Assassin's Creed Unity on the PlayStation 4 and the Potato Masher. If you don't know what it is, the Potato Masher is a custom-built PC. We built it for $350 in December of 2014. The goal was to see how much performance you could get for the price of a used PS4, and the long-term goal is to see how long you can keep playing AAA and other games with an at least comparable experience to the PlayStation 4. Now, I highly recommend you look at the source video upload if you really want to pixel peep the comparisons of the game here. That download is available in the description of the video, along with the full specs and the build video for the Potato Masher if you want to check it out. Now, Assassin's Creed Unity is a bit of an interesting game. Ubisoft has not had a great year when it comes to launching really good games that worked well upon release, and Assassin's Creed Unity is probably the worst. It ran absolutely horribly when it first came out. I mean, there's no way to dance around it. On both consoles and on the PC, this game was just a wreck. Frequent frame rate dips down to the single digits, texture pop-in, random game freezes and crashes. The patches that came out in the first couple weeks for this game fixed hundreds and hundreds of issues, and it does run quite a bit better now, but it's still not perfect. Now, Assassin's Creed Unity was also part of a little bit of controversy in that on the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, the game ran at 900p, upsampled to 1080p. And then on the PC, you can of course run it at whatever resolution you want. Now, what I find interesting is that on the PC, 900p, if I set the resolution to that manually, actually looks a little bit worse than the PlayStation 4. So it's obvious that they do a little bit of anti-aliasing or something on the PlayStation 4 version. They're getting a little bit of extra performance out of the 900p version, but I'm not really sure what they're using it for, because whatever they're using it for, it makes me wonder why they don't just use that to bump the game up to 1080p. I'm sure there's a good reason, but I can't see what it is just from playing the game. And why that doesn't really make any sense to me is that there is a very noticeable difference between the PC version and the PlayStation 4 version. On the Potato Masher, the game runs at 1080p, no problem. Well, the game runs with plenty of problems, but those are the game's fault and not a fault of the resolution. Now, I'm able to maintain an easy 30 plus FPS with everything set to pretty much the highest settings. Now, I did turn anti-aliasing down from the highest settings just because that drains a whole lot of performance for not a big visual difference. It's running on medium for anti-aliasing, but pretty much everything else is set to the highest settings, and the game runs at 30 to 40 FPS most of the time. Now, if you turn those settings all the way down, the game doesn't actually run really that much better at all. And unfortunately, that's the case with most things when it comes to this game. The game just runs poorly. It can look quite beautiful at times, and at other times that poor texture work and pop in and frequent freezes and hitches make the game look actually pretty bad. But the game has serious optimization issues. To illustrate these, here is the game running at 720p. It looks pretty crappy. You should be viewing this in full screen at high quality settings if possible, but you notice the frame rate keeps hitching and freezing, and the overall frame rate is just a little bit higher than it is at 1080p. Well, yeah, that's the game. It just runs terribly. So after trying 720p and seeing that I couldn't hit 60 FPS, here I am trying the game at 900p. This is 900p with everything set to pretty low settings, just trying to crank a lot of performance out of it. I think it looks very comparable to the PS4 version, except the PS4 version is noticeably using some anti-aliasing. And now here is the optimized settings I used on the PC. It's 1080p, most everything on high. Looks considerably better than the 900p low settings version. Of course, having a sunny day and the game's weather didn't really hurt. But it runs about the same in performance, which again is the game's optimization issues rearing their ugly head. Now, on the PlayStation 4, more disadvantages are in crowds. The number of people in crowds and their behavior seems to be fewer and dumber. There are a lot more wooden characters standing around, a lot less movement. On the PC version, there are a lot more people in the background, considerably thicker crowds, although all of the NPCs seem to be kind of dumb anyway, so I'm not really sure you can claim a big victory for the PC, but if you got excited by seeing the giant videos of the huge crowds when they announced Assassin's Creed Unity, the crowds are bigger on the PC. So again, I don't really know why that would be a significant thing for you, but if it is, the PC is the way to go. Now, on the PlayStation 4, the lighting is pretty good. There are fewer dynamic lights than there are in the PC. but there still are some dynamic lights. There's still pretty good texture work on everything but things at distance, although it is noticeably worse than the PC, but not really by that much. It's pretty comparable to medium textures on the PC, I think, based on what I can tell. Really, the only thing that makes the PlayStation 4 version actually look bad is the fact that it's running at a lower resolution, and that still just doesn't make sense because it runs decently after a whole bunch of patches at 900p, so maybe they will get a patch that bumps the game up to 1080p, who knows. Now, you may be watching this video and thinking, man, that's a whole lot of gameplay that doesn't involve somebody in an assassin suit. Well, you would be right. I didn't actually hop into the assassin suit until probably 3 hours into the game. So I didn't play 3 hours in on both systems, I just played on the PC for my own personal playthrough. So I've only recorded about the first hour and a half of gameplay, if you're wondering why there's no assassins running around. But you do still get to see the outside and the city, and everything looks pretty and yada yada yada, so I didn't think it was that big of a deal for the video. So here's just a few more comparison shots. You can see both versions look decently good, they run pretty poorly, and the PC is noticeably better, and that's really all I can say about Assassin's Creed Unity. I don't really know if I would recommend picking it up at all. You know, I would like to end this comparison by saying the definitive version is X, so the definitive version is B, but I don't really think I can say that. It definitely looks better on the PC. It definitely runs poorly on both systems. So if you absolutely have to play Assassin's Creed Unity, my recommendation is to just get it for whatever system you currently own, and if you own both a PlayStation 4 and a PC, rent it on Redbox for your PlayStation 4 so you can return it very, very quickly. And if you really, really want the definitive Assassin's Creed experience, my recommendation is to play Assassin's Creed Black Flag, which is an actual good-looking Assassin's Creed game that runs at a buttery smooth 30 FPS all the time on both systems, and is just a ton of fun. And I will be doing a comparison video between the Potato Masher and the PlayStation 4 of this game as soon as I can find somewhere where I can rent the PlayStation 4 version.